Yes, we are live again. Once again, here it is, the Reentry Connect podcast. I'm your host, Keenan Hudson, the impact on children. Yes, with Miss Jackie Hallberg. Y'all know her from before, the reentry specialist, social worker, the connector, the people's person. Everybody loves her. Miss Jackie, we appreciate having you here tonight. Appreciate everything that you've done. Again, we always love to hear from you because we know that you have a lot of insight with families. We know you have a lot of insight with individuals that's returned to society. So you know a lot of the ins and outs. And I'm quite sure that a lot of people would love to hear from you tonight. But before we get started, just want to give a shout out to GPS Transportation because this episode of the Reentry Podcast is brought to you by GPS Transportation. GPS Transportation serves in Philadelphia and the surrounding states, which goes above and beyond. If you are searching for a 5-star transportation company, GPS is the way to go. Services with medical transports, airport transports, party buses, private luxury transportation, all of the above. Again, the actual company is called gpstransportation.net. It's there on the screen. You can reach the phone number at 215-774-9913. If you mention the Reentry Connect podcast, Keenan Hudson, you will get a special rate. Remember to mention my name. They do any type of transport. So if you mention my name, you'll get a special rate. Guaranteed. So back to the show. Miss Jackie.
So nice to see you again, my friend.
Yes, indeed. It's so good to have you. I thank you for coming on again to share your knowledge, your wisdom, your understanding of this re-entry field. So, Miss Jackie, go ahead and just introduce yourself so the people can know who you are.
I would be happy to. Well, first of all, I'm a friend of Keenan's. I mean, come on, right? Who isn't that's on this show? So my name is Jackie Hallberg. I am over in Michigan. So I do all kinds of reentry and restorative justice work. I work with youth. I work with adults in the district court, in the circuit court. I work with those that are getting out of prison and those that are currently in our jail system. We oversee a very unique jail reentry program where those that are felony convicted, housed in our county jail, actually get to leave the jail during the day, do our day programming, and then go back to the jail. So super excited about that. So I'm the executive director of that program here in Michigan. And then I also have a side business, Keenan, which is called Home Reentry Services. You got it up on the screen. And that's where I can come into your communities and train your correction staff, your community leaders, your legislators, learn from all the experience I've had. I've been doing this for 20 years now. I've been through the good, the bad, the ugly, and I've seen the hope and the opportunity. So that's who I am. Like you said, I'm also a social worker. I've done 4 years of elementary school counseling with lots of kiddos that had family members that were incarcerated. So I'm so glad we're going to do this topic today because it's super important and not something people are always talking about.
Absolutely. And as you said, a lot of people are not talking about this. A lot of people may ask about it. A lot of people inquire about this, but a lot of people don't touch on the impact that we have on our children when we do come home and post release as well.
Mm-hmm.
It has a major impact. So if you can share your own words, what type of ways does the reentry sector impacts children?
Yeah. So a lot depends on what the relationship with the father or mother that's incarcerated had before they even went to jail or prison. And then are they going to be able to see? Are they going to have visits? I mean, if you get to certain states, you might be shipped to a prison that's far away from the community. Is that family even going to be able to do visits? Does that prison or jail allow for any emails or any kind of video chats, or are there phone calls available? So depending on what that relationship was before incarceration, during incarceration will depend on what it's like when you get out. You go to prison, you're gone for 2 to 4 to 10 years. Even if your kid was a baby, 4 years old, by the time you get out, even if they're just 11 or 12, that young child has possibly been the man or woman of the house, been helping out with the little kids, the all the stress that mom or dad had while the other partner was locked away. So it really depends on what kind of support the community gives those families, what kind of opportunities the family has. Sometimes that person that's in prison still has a big hold of the family and don't let them get services, or they don't want their kid to go to counseling or have support networks. All of that plays into the safety of that child and what it's going to be like when you get back, because every single kid, I don't care who it is, they want to know their parents. And so many kids do not know their parents if their parents have been in and out of the justice system, if they've been away for a long time. I work with a lot of kiddos that they say dad's away at work. There's not a discussion on why they're gone and why they're not there. They just think that dad's gone, mom's gone, they're going to be gone for a while. I don't know why they like their job better than hanging out with me, so there's a whole lot of issues when we're telling kids different stories. And then depending on how long that's going to be, kids start to put two and two together, or sometimes their family or their neighbors or other kids at schools, they're like, yeah, I know your dad's locked up or your mom's been in jail or something like that. So really that trust factor, depending on how you're going to talk about it, can really impact how the child responds to both the parent that's in the house and the parent that's out of the house. And then, of course, once they get released, it depends on what the parole or probation conditions are. Can they have contact with the mom or the dad of the child? Can they be in a room with a child? Are they going to have no contact issues? So all of that plays into it, Keenan. However, no matter what it is, there's ways to make sure that that child has the support necessary and understands that it's not their fault, because that's a big one. Kiddos always think when their parents are gone, their parents divorce, their parents move away, whether it's for jail or prison or because they move to another family or a new spouse. Kids always tend to think it's their fault unless it's really talked about. And there's some education that goes on both with the kid and the family in general.
Yeah. And that actually points to way back when I was a kid. My father had went away to prison when I was a child. But one thing I commend my mother on was she kept the communication, meaning even when he wrote letters to the house, she made sure that even if I didn't read the letter, she gave me the letter, sat me at the table and said, hey, this is from your father. Now, he went away unexpectedly. I didn't know what he had went away from at that time. But at the same time, my mother at least attempted to keep that communication. Again, now, most individuals that are in prison believe that, okay, even though they're able to talk with their child on the phone, for many years, or even have a couple visits, that they're just going to be in total control of their child's life, but not knowing that, okay, after spending so many years apart, what can you really tell a child if you haven't really been there physically? You wasn't able to console them in hard times. You weren't able to pitch or kick at a ball, during some recreational times. Like me, myself, I had to teach myself a lot of things due to the fact that my father was in prison. A lot of my role models came from the street. A lot of my role model came from, in schools and things like that, people I looked up to in the neighborhood. But other than that, having that lack of, again, whichever parent, whether it be the mother or the father, because either one could be arrested or incarcerated, it can have a big impact because, again, if your presence is not there, it's like out of sight, out of mind. And that goes for the child as well. If you're not here, I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to listen to your command. My mom tell me what to do. So let me ask you, Ms. Jackie. So what have been some of the toughest challenges for individuals reconnecting once they did get out? Did they think it was just going to be automatic? Oh, a great bond, or what type of things have you seen?
It's so much. It's so varied and so unique by circumstance, because sometimes, like you said, a mom or dad might be like, I'm the mom or dad, you better listen to me and everything, don't ask me questions. You better be the same person you were when I left. Other times, some of the parents are really kind of scared and nervous to meet their kid. They're embarrassed. They might feel like if they're around their kid, maybe their kid's going to start doing the same things they did, and they don't want them in that lifestyle. So I've seen it on all the different issues, Keenan. And sometimes I commend the parents so much that they want the best for their kids, but they don't know how to parent yet. If you don't know how to parent yet, there's services, there's a lot of opportunities. One of the things that I really specialized in was what we called family reunification. reunification. Now, family reunification does not mean you need to be back to your family immediately. It means let's work on this process and make sure that it's safe for everybody. Think about those that go away to prison for years. It's hard enough to adjust to them being out, let alone possibly being in a relationship, having kids. Maybe the kids need help with homework and that gets them all stressed out. Maybe their kids had some major issues while they were gone. Maybe they had some kind of abuse that happened, or they had issues in school, or they were being picked on, harassed because the dad or mom wasn't there. Maybe they were being raised by grandma or great grandma and the communication style is different or the opportunities were limited. So depending on what that kid is able to articulate, depending on how old they are, depending on the feelings of the parent or who's been the guardian of the child while the other person been gone, it can be just so different. So I always encourage some kind of a family mediation. It can be between the couple. It can be with the kid if the kid is old enough, just to learn how to recommunicate. You can also do family therapy. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily, you have a mental health illness. It can mean just let's figure out how to deal with the hurt that's happened by this person being gone or out of our family for many years. Let's learn how to talk and be a family again. But again, it's not right for everybody right away. We may need to step back, let each other heal for a little bit, maybe do some supervised visits, or let's do some very small visits and not be all under the same roof right again. Of course, check your probation and parole requirements because you don't want that to be a violation. And if you have more than one girlfriend, when you come out of prison or jail, don't be playing around with them because they will probably be the first ones to call your agent and get you in trouble, even if you didn't have trouble.
You couldn't say that loud enough, huh? A lot of games be played out here.
Yes.
But Ms. Jackie, one thing I wanted to touch on, right? What I notice about a lot of individuals that have children when they do return to society, they feel as though that they have to play catch up. They have to redeem the time that was lost with their children. It may be a situation where the child may need a pair of sneakers, right? And in some cases, some may not be able to afford it, but in some may. But just because your child needs a pair of sneakers, that doesn't mean they need a pair of Jordans. But so many people, they get that perspective wrong. It's like, oh, I got to go above and beyond. I want to get them this and get them that. But then here it is. You don't even have a job yet. You still work at a temp agency. You may be, struggling to keep a roof over your head. You may, just be getting on your feet. You don't even know your own way. So just because it may take a few months for you to get right in order to provide for your children, you don't have to feel bad about that because you just spent the past 5-10 years in prison without them. So I'm quite sure your children's, whoever the parent or guardian is that's been watching over them all the years, will probably understand the way you're working yourself in. But then now we got to always also put into retrospect of how crucial some of the bad parenting comes into play. Because a lot of times they try to use the child as a weapon.
Absolutely.
They try to use them against the father. They try to use them against the mother. Say, oh, well, you ain't done all these years. You ain't never been done anyway. You should have stayed in prison. You should have. Now that plays a big effect mentally. So now it becomes a big challenge, and it becomes, oh, my baby mom don't want to, let me see my child, or my baby mom keep doing this, and baby mom doing that. And then now it becomes a big, like, now the only thing is you're not hurting the baby mom's not hurting you. You're hurting the child.
Absolutely.
And it's a child now. And the child, they're not looking for, even though a child can be materialistic to a certain point, but at the same time, they're looking for somebody to console them. They're looking for somebody to come and tell them, hey, I'm here at your game. Hey, I'm going to support you winning this spelling bee. Here, I'm going to support you if you're starting a podcast. I'm going to support you no matter what you do because you're my child. There's plenty of times when I was a child, I wish I had somebody to teach me how to kick at a ball or how to shoot a basketball or how to do certain things. I've seen other people, other peers, had their fathers, but I didn't have mine. So, and then it's like it does something to you inside, but you bottle it in. You learn the way you learn, but you bottle it in like that. I wish I had that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, that's so intense, Keenan. And for kids, even if you're a teenager, it's so hard to understand how to articulate that or how to say, wow, I'm hurting because dad hasn't been here, or because mom's away, or because I have to live with granny now, or maybe I'm in the foster care system until they get released. So it can be really traumatic because it expounds when kids can't use their words because they're just kids. Their brain doesn't have the capacity. And if a mom or dad comes back and just expects their kids to just listen to them immediately, they may see their kid, kind of go stoic and kind of have that fight or flight freeze response where they don't even know how to respond to you because they haven't seen you in years, and now you're yelling at them and expecting things. But you said that about the whole, you haven't been around, so you're not seeing your kids now. I've also seen it the other way, where some parents are so happy that that other person is out of jail or prison that they dump the kids on them, and they're like, now I can go live my life. I've had to be the 24-hour caregiver for the past 3 years. It's my time to go play. And then they're basically, that kid is being dumped with a parent that they haven't physically stayed the night with in years. And then they miss the other parent, and like, why do they not like me anymore? Did I do something wrong? So it's almost like we need a step by step how to re-engage with your kiddos, because it's not fair to either side if you use that kid as a pawn, like you talked about. And unfortunately, if there's unresolved relationship issues, or like I said, if there's multiple relationships that the people are going back and forth with, it's going to ultimately spiral that kiddo way worse. And I guarantee, as a parent, it's going to come back and hit you. Maybe when you're young as a parent, you don't think about it as much, but once you get older and you realize your kids have either drifted, or they don't really call you mom or dad, or they don't want your input, they've kind of put that wall up. I see so many older parents that they're just like, man, I did miss out on that ball time with my kiddo. I should have done this instead of been dating all these people, or in and out of, running from the cops and stuff. I should have been there for my kiddos. And we can't should ourselves. We have to just start from day one, whether our kids are 6 years old, 16, or they're 26. How do you want to rebuild that relationship? Because the longer you go, the harder it's going to be. But the more support you have, whether it's through counselors, through mediators, through different parole programs that are out there now for families, and through that reentry process, the more chances of success for you guys to rebuild a relationship. Just don't expect it to be exactly how it was, especially if your kiddo was just a toddler or a baby. They don't remember faces from that long ago. So it's going to be an adjustment for everybody, but it doesn't have to be horrendous. But so many times it is. And so many times that relationship status is one of the reasons people get, a parole violation, is because they weren't supposed to be with a woman, or the person was mad because they told them that they would be there with the kid, and then they were gone too long. And now the kid is the kid being abducted or something like that. So it's really hard when somebody is connected to the justice system on so many levels. They have to look over their shoulders so many times. And then when there's kids involved and there's emotions involved from past relationships, it just compounds it. So please start that family reunification or reentry plan way before you get released, especially if you're going to be away for a long time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that I'm quite sure that from where you're based over in Michigan, you have some resources, and I know that I can research as well for resources over here in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area, especially for individuals that struggle with some of these issues. Because again, most times they do offer certain little read to your children programs in prison, and certain little things where they could come visit. But I mean, nowadays, things have gotten so expensive that most people can't see their kids anymore. So they made this whole virtual video thing. But the video thing, that doesn't mean as much as, again, being consoled, bringing somebody, giving them a hug, seeing that smile on their faces, in person. So, and again, coming up in a single parent household, it wasn't easy for me or my siblings. I mean, we always gave respect to my mother. We gave respect to my grandmother, all my aunts, uncles. There was always a respect factor, but there was always a void that needed to be filled. There was a void of, hey, I want to follow and be like somebody, and most times I think that a lot of parents don't understand that, because there's been times, actually, like even me coming home, where I wanted to literally build a good bond with my father. But in some instances, Ms. Jackie, some parents may not understand how to build a bond. They may not understand how to say, "Hey, let's bring this thing back together, or let's make up for this lost time." I've always tried to build that bond, but I guess when people feel resented, or when parents feel resented, they just feel as though, oh, we can't change anybody, so I'm just not going to bother with it. Because me, I'm a very forgiving person, but at the same time, it's like, but if you're not willing to accept that bond is being extended to you, it's like it's just a waste of time. It's like, I made it this long without you, so why rekindle the relationship
Yeah.
in general?
Well,
So
it's kind of like a defense mechanism too. If you say something mean to me, Keenan, I'm going to be like, well, I'm not going to spend time with him. And a lot of times parents coming back will say the same thing. Like, I tried to get along with my kid. I tried to take him out for ice cream and they just threw a fit. Well, they don't want to be around me. I'm never coming back again. And that's not, don't do that to your kiddo. The kids are not a grown person. They don't know how to use their words. They're confused and they're scared, and they will use actions to try to get your attention and your love, because they don't know how to say, Dad, just give me a hug. I miss you. I'm scared. Things have been rough without you. Or Mom, it's been so weird not being able to have you sing to me at night. Things are so weird. So please don't ever use that defense, like they should respect me, I'm the dad or mom. Please don't do that, because they're just a baby and they've been traumatized by your being away from them. Even if it's a short jail sentence, they still are like, whoa, you're here every night and now you're not. What happened? And kids will always think the worst case scenario. It's just the way kids' brains are wired. They're going to think much worse than what really probably happened. And so one of the things we do at our day programming is once a month. We are so lucky to have such a good relationship with our prosecutor and our sheriff and the jail administrators, that we are actually able to have an in-person family night at our building, where the guys that are the participants, they are still in their regular clothes before they go back to the jail. They get to eat dinner with their kids. They get to play on the floor with crayons and toys and puzzles and all kinds of stuff. They get to hold their babies. They get to change diapers if their kids need a diaper change. They get to be a parent again, first touching that kid. And that is something unprecedented for people that have a actual incarceration stay in a jail these days. There's always the glass. It's always the virtual visits like you're talking about, or a phone call. And that touch, that face to face, I mean, and we put our safety measures in there, and the jail runs screening on whoever gets to come. But those kids, I mean, they look night and day from when they walk in the door to boom, when they see their dad. It's just like the whole world just came alive for them. And it's so powerful. And guess what, Keenan? We don't know what we don't know. So as a parent, if we've had kind of sucky parenting ourselves and we're not the world's best parent and we get frustrated at our kids, it's okay to ask for help. It is not like the old days where you couldn't ask for help or they'd report you to somebody. Just say, I need some parenting advice. My kid doesn't listen to me. I don't even know how to change a diaper. I don't even know how to sit and talk to my daughter, because now she's like 11 and she doesn't like me and she's scared of me or something. It's okay to ask for help. It is the toughest thing in the world to ask for help, but it makes you the strongest person out there. Way stronger than carrying a gun, way stronger than walking away from somebody. Asking for help can make all the difference for you and your kiddo.
Yeah. And that's true, Miss Jackie. And as you just mentioned, the pride is a big thing, especially in prison, out here on the streets, with anybody. A lot of people are prideful. A lot of people, they feel as though it's a form of weakness when you do ask somebody for help, if you ask somebody for advice, if you ask somebody even for something, as a handout. And that's something that most people have to put to a side, especially when you're trying to learn something, especially when you're trying to learn your child. It's like learning from people that have been through the experience, learning from the people that's actually studied the field for a long time, have seen the ins and outs, the pros and the cons, with rekindling relationships with the children. But again, you have to put pride to the side. Pride always comes before the fall, period. Because it's better to stay humble, trust the process, work things out so things build back up. But if you just go and be prideful, you're just going to do away with it. Again, you're only going to hurt the child. So Miss Jackie, so if people wanted to like find out, like more about the services that you have, what are some of the names of the services that you deal with that helps parents and their children
Sure.
from where you're at?
Yeah. So if you're in my community right now, we have a lot of wonderful resources in general, but our agency specifically is launching a family resource group where it is for people that have somebody currently incarcerated, whether it's at the jail or the prison level, because whether you're the spouse or whether you're the parent or a sibling, it's hard sometimes to just know what services are out there. So if the person that's incarcerated can work on their own healing and their growth and their reentry plan while they're inside, and the family can work on some healing, so many families, and Keenan, you know all about this, but so many families have, I kind of want to say incorrect thoughts on what it's going to be like when their person comes home. Sometimes they're so excited, they think it's going to be roses and butterflies and they're not going to have any other issues and they can't wait to get them back home and everything's going to be wonderful. And then reality hits them and they have all these hoops they got to jump through with parole and the stress level and just the re-entering into where you're not behind bars anymore. It does some major changes in your brain, the way you respond and everything. And then some people are so not happy their person is coming home. I know a lot of older parents that have to have their 20, 30, 40-year-old child come back and live with them after they were incarcerated because they have no other home to go to. Well, maybe that person had harmed their parents. They stole from them. They threatened them. Maybe they physically hurt them. And so those parents might be just like, I don't trust them. The courts are making me have them come home, or my kid is threatening me that if, I don't say that they can live with me, then, they might do something. So they may need some services in place and they might need to figure out how they can have advocacy services so they don't have to have that person with them, or how can some healing happen between them while they're still not back living together, but they can maybe talk through a mediator. We have done different mediations while people are incarcerated. There are certain prisons that will let mediators actually help with that process. It's not common. It's not common at all, but there are some that are open to it. And that's something that I would be happy to explore with different prisons. The recidivism rate will drop. The chances of harm to those kids in the family will drop if there's any kind of real work that's a success plan. And it's got to be reality based and unique. So what might work for me might not be the same for you when you were going back to your family, Keenan. It might not be the same for the next guy, but we can talk about it. And if people can be honest and say, these are going to be my barriers, these are going to be my triggers. If I see her, I'm going to go off on her. But if I see her, she might calm me down. If I'm with my granny, it's going to be okay. But if my uncle comes around, I know he's going to set me off and I might end up doing something that gets me in trouble again. Mm-hmm. If we could help you through that, people are not meant to do the world alone. Use the right providers. But unfortunately, there have been so many providers that have not had the skills. They don't understand trauma-based recovery. They don't understand reentry plans. They don't understand that pride that you were talking about, that so many people come in. They don't live in some of the capacities that some people have lived in, so they might not be understanding. So you got to find a worker that wants to really be there for you. They want to give you the supports. They want to help your entire family.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I wanted to touch on, because I know we're not going to be here all night, but it's okay. But one thing I want to touch back on is when you talked about how important it is to convey to the child when a person does go away, whether it be the mother or the father. It's very important to not just say, oh, they went away to school or they went away to work and things like that, because you're lying to them. How much of an impact can that have on a child when you find out, or your child find out, that you're lying? You lied this whole time. So now they trying to figure out, what else have you been lying to them about? Why is that important, Ms. Jackie? And we won't, but I want you to do that because a lot of people, shout out to Porter, my homie Porter over on Instagram, Brian, all of them, Glenn Whisper, Glenn Lewis and all of them. good people. They over on Instagram. I know you can't see it. Some of
No.
the comments and stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah. So can you touch on just a little bit on that, Miss Jack? I don't
Yeah.
want to take up all the time.
No, I love this. I could talk
Yeah,
all night on this kind of stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Damien just said that he's been trying to post comments and they're not showing up either. So I don't know what kind of
You're
glitch.
not okay.
Link,
I got
LinkedIn
double.
is always
Okay,
fun. It looks like there's
okay.
my LinkedIn comment showed. I see some Facebook comments, but I don't know what the glitch is. But we're happy
Yeah.
that people are listening and hopefully they can catch it on the replay.
Okay.
Lying. Okay. Two things that hurt kids so bad are broken
Okay.
promises and lies. And really, it's kind of the same thing. So, what I always encourage people is use words like, I want to, I'm trying, I'm learning, I want to get back with you, not, I'm going to be back with you on Friday and I'm going to be in the house every day. Well, you don't know if you are. Your parole officer might yank you back, or you might
Mhm,
have a beef with mom and it's not going to be a good spot for you to be there. So, please don't give kids
mhm,
promises. Please let them know I got to relearn some stuff. I'm
mhm,
kind of working through some things, but I love you so much. I want to figure things out. I want to be able to see you as much as I can. But right now, I've got a lot of appointments. I've got a lot of meetings. I might not have transportation. Mom and I need to work on some things before I can, see you more often, or different things like that. That helps
mhm,
the kid know that, yes, you care, but we're not going to be like, oh, you said you'd be here Friday and now it's Saturday morning and I still haven't heard from you. So the
mhm,
lying thing, I cannot speak for everybody. Okay. I cannot be in somebody's shoes that don't know what to tell their kids. So
mhm,
you
mhm,
have to do what works for you, but a kid is going to find out eventually. So what are you going to do? Be prepared for that. Kids would much rather hear from an adult that says, we did tell you this because we didn't want you to be nervous or we didn't want you to be scared, but this is what's been going on. And this is why mom or dad was away, but they miss you and they're ready to come home pretty soon. And it's going to be a little weird for all of us, but we want you to know. That makes such a difference, other than, yeah, whatever. Okay. Yeah. I'm the adult. I can tell you whatever I want. Don't question me, or something like that. But when kids have to
mhm,
find out the lies happened from like a friend at school that knew that their parent got,
mhm,
arrested or something, or they see it on the news, or they hear about it through an aunt or uncle or a neighbor, or even somebody at a church or something or school
mhm.
telling on them. That's tough stuff, because then the kids are like, okay, if you lied to me about something as important as where my
Mhm.
mom or dad is, what else are you lying to me about? And can I trust
Absolutely.
you ever again? So
Absolutely.
as adults, it's okay to admit to kids that you've made a mistake. It's okay to say you're sorry. It's okay to say that maybe you wish you could have done something different. That helps kids not start lying themselves at heart, starts letting them realize, oh, yeah, I can learn from what they did and hopefully not do that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, Miss Jackie, I just want to say, yeah, Mr. Damon Kenzie over on LinkedIn. Sorry, I wasn't the comments are not popping up over here on the screen for some reason, but I do see your comments down from logging into LinkedIn. Miss Jackie, he asked a couple things I believe you touched on. One of the things he says, are parents being offered classes or support for skill building in your programs? So
Mhm.
that was a question towards you. And then if you want me to read the second one, he says, what roles does a mediator play in situations when divided points of view are in place?
Ooh,
Jack.
good
So,
questions.
yeah, these
So
are
the
some of
first
the. Mhm,
one, I don't think anybody can mandate a parent or a family member to go through services, but it would be great if the communities offered the services and made them very readily available, maybe even some things that didn't cost money. So if the parole
mhm,
office or the probation officer knows who the family is, because they have to do the site visits and know what's coming on when they're coming back, why can't they say, hey, it might be quite a bit of a difference when they come home. Have you thought about some counseling? Have you thought about a support group? So for us, we're trying to market and trying to let probation officers know, parole officers know. We're sending it to other agency providers, letting the community know that we have this resource group that's free. We're going to have community presenters that come in and talk a little bit about the different agencies that are there. And so many families, have to become the sole breadwinner when their person is gone. And so they may be already working two different jobs, and maybe granny or the aunt is taking care of the kid or kids while they're trying to pay the bills. So they may not have time to do extra groups or classes, but just if they knew that there's a resource when they're ready or when they have time, or that people are not going to judge them for the questions they have. Now, I know my town specifically has 2 prisons right in my community. We've had people from 6 hours away like relocate over here because their husband, their boyfriend, their son has been incarcerated in our prison. So they come to our community to be close to them so they can go visit them. They don't know anybody in our town. They don't know the community resources. They don't know if they qualify. We need to do more outreach and let those families know that they are now part of our community. They are welcome. They deserve to use these resources as well. So that's my plea, is to try to make whatever resources are available inclusive to everybody, even if they're new to the community or if they only came there because somebody was incarcerated. So that's pretty much for that first one. But I would love to challenge communities to have more resources for families. It is so important. And then the mediation. Okay, so mediators in general, so at least in the state of Michigan, all of our mediators, to say you are a mediator, you have to go through really intense training that is mandated by the state of Michigan. Once you become a mediator, you are obligated to be a neutral facilitator. So you are not a judge, you're not a detective, you're not the attorney, you're not trying to decide who's going to win. It's not like an arbitration where there's going to be somebody winning at the end. The whole point is to start off that communication. Okay, Keenan, what is it going to be like for you being back in your child's life? Well, I want to be with my kid every single night because I've missed out on him for 4 years. And mom's just like, whoa, that's going to be too much. They've got to do homework. They've got little league practice. They still need to get to bed at time. I need to make sure that you're going to be safe and you're not going to be out running the streets with our kid. They have to get to bed at the right time. They have to get all their homework done. Are you going to be able to help that? And then Keenan, you might say, oh gosh, I didn't even think about all that. I don't know how to do 3rd grade math. How am I going to help them? Maybe I can see them every other weekend, or maybe we can work for the first 2 months and I just spend time on Saturday afternoon. And then the other parent might say, you know what, how about Saturday afternoons and Sunday breakfast or something like that? They try to work it out so the mediator doesn't tell the family how to blend, but they generate ideas and give some discussion instead of just that emotional response. I need my kid, or you need to be away from my kid, or something like that. It's really to try to get that conversation going so the 2 parents can say, just like you said at the beginning of the show, Keenan, not using the kid as the pawn or getting back at the other parent through the kid. Don't hurt that kid more than they've already been hurt. Figure out what's best for the kid. So younger kids should never be in a mediation with that. Older kids, if they're not going through like a family therapy or something, totally okay to add a kiddo if both parents are okay with it, just to learn, how do we recommunicate? How do we listen to each other? Because so many people are busy on their phones and on their laptops and social media. They forget to look into each other's eyes and even talk to each other. Then you have a kid that doesn't know if they can trust you or not, and they're hearing their parents go back and forth. It's important to be able to all slow down and listen, give a chance to all say what they think is best, and say, guess what? After we all decide with this person in the room, maybe now we know how to talk together without getting mad at each other or screaming. Or maybe in 2 months, we need to come back and talk with another person in the room just to keep all of our energies focused. So it's not getting to a point where we're yelling and fighting over the kid or in front of the kid.
Wow, powerful. Mr. Davis he said, Jackie is a wealth of knowledge. Absolutely. That's why I always keep her around, because she know a lot of stuff. She definitely know a lot of stuff. Yeah, he definitely give you some great, like you said, the family dynamics play a big part. She had a great point. He definitely shout you out over here. Other people, again, they're on Instagram as well, LinkedIn, YouTube. He said some things, but they definitely really are very they're very on point, watching and listening and hearing everything you have to say. That's why I always like to hear different perspectives. It's very important in life. And I say this to any viewer right now. If you stay, tunnel with a tunnel vision, you'll never get nowhere in life. You always have to hear different perspectives, different cultures, different belief systems. Because just being brought up on something and you turning that into just a reality of your life, you'll be so stuck in your ways that there'll be so many things and opportunities going on around you that you'll miss out on them. Because for the simple fact is, prideful, stuck in your ways. You don't want to learn from nobody. So me, I always love to learn. I love it. I love integrating. I love bringing people together. I love connecting, networking. That's what we're all about.
Yes.
So be expecting more and more of that. And nobody's going to stop that. We're going to be coming from different arenas, different states, different counties, different cities, because everybody are facing different challenges. But I know that together as a whole, we can make a change.
Yeah.
We can bring better awareness. We can inspire others to do better.
And
Because
it's so different depending what community you're in, because if you're in a rural community, you might not have as many resources or transportation. You're in a big city, you might have tons of stuff, but you might have more roadblocks because there's more triggers or problem areas. You're in a suburban area. How is the community going to welcome you back? So a lot depends on, what is your support network? What is the community dynamics? And are you even happy to go back to that same neighborhood, that same community, that same city? Is that going to be best for you? Because even though I preach about being involved with your kids as much as possible, if you know going back to that house, going back to that neighborhood is going to put you in a place where you may be forced to make decisions that could not be safe for you or that child, please reconsider. Please remove yourself until you are completely ready to be in that child's life. That kid would much rather you be, through your sobriety, going through different support networks, making sure that you're not being chased by people or people trying to get back at you for what happened before you went in. Make sure that you're safe first. And please, when you return, drop the stigma. Don't let people shame you that you were a felon, you had this, so you can't talk to your kid. It's okay to talk to your kid. It's okay to say, I did something and I learned from it. I don't want this from you. Because the reality is, once a parent goes to prison, the chances of their kid going to prison just skyrockets. And it's so much because it's learned behavior and nobody talks about it. They say, yeah, dad's in prison, mom's in prison, uncle's been in prison, but they don't say how not to get to prison. You got to love your kids and you got to let them know there are some bad things out there that want to take you down. We don't want that for your life. How can we find those support networks? Are there different kid groups they could be going to, different safety measures? And if your community does not have the resources, if the community you are in is not a safe one, where is the safety? Is it in your church community? Is it in the schools? Is it in a counseling agency? Is it the one neighbor down the road is a safe place? So that's where you go instead of letting your kids just wander and kind of fend for themselves, because trouble will happen when you don't talk about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And Miss Jackie, I know we're coming up on an hour here, but again, I know we can go for days and days and talking, but we definitely going to have you on again. Even on the round table, like you said, we're going to be putting some things together that's going to be very useful for individuals and the viewers and people that just want, some good information, because there's so many people out there that, they lack knowledge about a lot of things that go on with the reentry sector, what goes on in the prisons and things that's affecting a lot of people's lives out here in the world. So, Ms. Jackie, again, it was once again great having you. We really, again, if they wanted to contact you, please state how they can contact you once again.
Yeah, the best way is through my email. It's Jackie@homereentryservices.com. If you are active on LinkedIn, my name is right on the screen as soon as he puts the email down. Find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me. I really try to strengthen my reentry community. I'm also very focused in restorative justice. So if reentry isn't a word that your community is ready for, there may be some restorative programming that could be available, going into school programs, going into the jails, the prisons, going into the legislators to figure out what can your community do more so that it's safer for people that are returning and it's more resources for the families that are waiting for their person to come back. It's a win-win situation that, the more support we have, the more chances we're going to be in a safer, healthier, happier environment. When we're happy and safe, we don't usually commit crimes, do we, Keenan?
No, that's true. That's true. It's like all the tough people and people that don't really have nothing going on are the ones that want to start the trouble. But that's another subject.
That's a whole nother night.
Again, it's your man, Keenan Hudson at the Reentry Connect podcast, Impact on Children with Miss Jackie Hallberg. Again, this actual broadcast is brought to you by GPS Transportation. And if you're looking for that transportation in the Philadelphia area or the surrounding, they go above and beyond. They go to any state, luxury transport, medical transport. Anytime you come to Philly, just call the number you see on the screen, GPS transportation, mention Keenan Hudson, the Reentry Connect podcast. You will get a special rate. If they don't give you a special rate, you let me know and I'll take care of it. Guaranteed. But it's a 5-star transportation company. Again, luxury and everything. So without further ado, again, it's your host, Keenan Hudson. Miss Jackie, we thank you for coming through. We see another nice.
That's my girl, Nick.
Okay, that one came through for some reason. That's great. We appreciate everybody. But we're just going to say, everybody have a wonderful night or a wonderful rest of your day, depending on what time zone that you're in. Ms. Jackie, we definitely love having you. And we look forward to hearing from you again in the near future.
Thank you, Keenan. Take care, everybody.
All right.